20th Amendment to the Constitution gazetted, Parliament Council introduced instead of the Constitutional Council. Power to make appointments vested with the President. Dual citizens allowed to become parliamentarians. National Organisation Collective disappointed over dual citizens being allowed to become MPs. Revelations come to light that there were minor tremors preceding the main tremor near the Victoria Dam. Podujana Peramuna poses the views of party member Sarath Weerasekara on provincial councils. The fire aboard the oil tanker in seas off Ampara worsens. Assistance sought from the 2 Russian warships docked at Hambantota.
The Sri Lanka Police celebrates its 154th anniversary today. The services rendered by the officers of the Sri Lanka Police are commendable. Sri Lanka Police, who continued their mission of service during the 30-year-old war to eradicate terrorism from our nation, fulfilled their responsibility to the motherland at the cost of many lives. The service they rendered to save our island nation and its people during the COVID-19 pandemic should not be forgotten. The Sri Lanka Police has now embarked on a new mission to curb the underworld, drugs and theft to ensure a peaceful life for our people. Police heroes who dedicate their life day and night to safeguard our motherland and the people, this tribute is for you.
The Navy has said that the fire that erupted on a distressed oil tanker in the seas of Sangaman Khanda has not died down yet. 2 Russian warships that had docked at the Hambantota port this week have joined efforts to douse the fire.
A fire had erupted on the New Diamond oil tanker that had been heading from Kuwait's Minal Al Ahmadi port towards the Pradeep port in India. The vessel had been 37 nautical miles off the Sangaman Khanda coast when the fire had erupted. It has been reported that the vessel that is sailing under the flag of Panama had been transporting 270,000 metric tons of crude oil and 1,700 metric tons of diesel. The fire had erupted following a gas cylinder explosion and had been reported to the Navy around 8:05 a.m. The Navy had immediately dispatched its Syra and Runner-Receive vessels to the location of the incident. 23 crew members had been aboard the New Diamond vessel at the time of the fire. A majority of them were Philippine nationals. A cargo ship that had been travelling in the same waters had rescued 19 crew members. An engineer who had been injured in the fire had been admitted to the Kalmune hospital after being brought ashore. The captain and another crew member had been rescued by the Navy and have been brought aboard a Navy vessel. They are on the process of coordinating efforts to douse the flames. The captain of the ship has been identified as a Greek national. The Air Force has dispatched its Beechcraft reconnaissance flight and an Mi-17 helicopter to investigate into the incident. Meanwhile, 2 Russian warships that had been docked at the Hambantota port were requested to join efforts in dousing the fire. A special meeting had taken place between the Marine Environment Protection Authority, the Navy and the Air Force with regard to the incident.
If
a large explosion occurs, it can cause a massive damage to the sea. The dispersing of oil from the tank can also cause damages. If that happens, it will have an impact on the seas in the eastern, southern and western regions. Therefore, we are taking steps to prevent any incident of that magnitude from taking place. We have sought the assistance of all the relevant authorities to determine what action could be taken to prevent a massive damage from taking place and to decide what could be done to control the damage. We have informed all the countries in the region. We are also in the process of obtaining information, advice and assistance from international organizations as a precautionary measure. We are conducting hourly meetings to this effect in order to take the relevant decisions. If the fuel in the tank spills into the sea, it will cause massive environmental destruction in the eastern, western and southern seas. We have been informed that the Navy is taking steps to rescue the crew members and is taking the necessary safety measures in this regard. The Navy has said that the oil has not spilled from the vessel. This ocean region is very rich in marine life. Fishermen who go out to sea in the southern and western regions may face severe inconveniences as a result of this. We must draw our attention to prevent this from happening and be ready to respond to a situation of this magnitude if it occurs. If oil is spilled into the deep seas, the oil boom equipment should be used to prevent the oil from spreading. It is a device that floats on the sea and will prevent the spread of fuel. This equipment is available with the Coast Conservation Authority. We must be prepared to face a worse situation as a precaution.
Meanwhile, foreign media reports showed that India has dispatched 3 vessels and an aircraft to assist the Sri Lanka Navy in efforts to douse the fire on the oil tanker. According to these reports, these vessels have been equipped with the necessary equipment for the operation.
The International Ship and Port Facilities Security Code of the Safety of Life at Sea, more commonly known as the SOLAS Convention, reveals that the potential for an oil spill is high at the vicinity of the Trincomalee harbour. This had been revealed through the periodical audits that were conducted under the Security Code. Now, according to Sri Lanka Navy, India Oil Company or IOC had been informed to be suitably equipped and rehearsed to meet any contingency.
Renowned as one of the largest natural harbours in the world, the port of Trincomalee plays a vital role in the distribution of crude oil in Sri Lanka. Approximately 4 to 5 large shipping vessels dock at the Trincomalee port every month, which brings in more than 20,000 tons of crude oil to Sri Lanka. IOC and Cipetco are the 2 main companies importing oil to the country. Although many countries across the globe have several measures in place to enhance the security of ships and ports when unloading crude oil, such measures cannot be witnessed in our country. The absence of such security measures were even witnessed on the 28th of last month when crude oil was being unloaded at the Trincomalee port. It was against such a backdrop that the International Ship and Port Facility Security Code of the SOLAS Convention reveals that the potential of an oil spill is high at the vicinity of the Trincomalee port. Accordingly, the Sri Lanka Navy has informed the IOC in writing to equip itself with the required oil response equipment and follow the standard rules and procedures. Shouldn't we focus more on protecting the natural resources of Sri Lanka?
It has been revealed that minor tremors had been recorded in Kandy before the first significant tremor on the 29th of this month. Our Newsfirst team toured Kandy and its surrounding areas in which these tremors had been reported.
Tremors had been reported on multiple occasions in several areas including Haragama and Anuragama on the 29th of last month. However, it has been revealed that tremors had been recorded before the 29th as well. These tremors had been recorded in the seismometers at the Victoria Reservoir.
In our seismometers, we observed an unusual wave record around 2:18 and 6:49 p.m. yesterday.
සවස 6:49ට තවත් තරංගයකුත් සටහන් වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඊයේ උදෑසන සිදු කම්පනය ගත්තොත් කොහොමද ඒක සටහන් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? වම් මියුරේ තියෙන
It has been recorded in the graph on the left. The highest magnitude has been reported from the river. However, that is an extremely minor one. Our staff attached to this facility are employed around the clock. However, these tremors were not felt by the people.
මිනිස්සුන්ට දැනෙන ප්‍රමාණයට දැනුනේ නැහැ.
කොහොමද මේ වේදේ ආරක්ෂිත තත්ත්වය සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපිට මේ තියෙන තත්ත්වය?
හැබැයි මේ ඇති වුණු
The highest magnitude of this tremor has been recorded at 0.006. The minimum magnitude that has been faced by the dam is 1. Therefore, this has had no impact on the dam. There is no need to fear.
කිසිදු බියක් ඇති කරගන්න දෙයක් නැහැ.
The Newsfirst team visited several villages including Alutwatta and Ambakote that are located on the left bank of the Victoria Reservoir.
Right now I'm standing on one end of what is known as the upper area of the Victoria Reservoir, and upstream is the areas known as Ambakote and Rajawella, where the villagers experienced tremors over the past few days on 2 separate days, to be exact, on the 29th of August and on the 2nd of September. Now, there are different views expressed by the locals. Some say that on the 29th of August, they heard a loud explosive noise, and then came the tremor-like event that they felt something moving underground. And thereafter, some claimed that they did not hear the explosive noise, but they definitely felt something that was moving under the ground. And right now, the people living in all these surrounding areas are living in fear, unsure of what is exactly happening here in the Central Hills.
Villagers recalled their experience during the tremors.
මීට කලින් මේ වගේ දෙයක් වෙලා තියෙනවද?
නෑ මේ පැත්තෙන් ලොකු සද්දයක් ආවුණා ඩුං ගාලා. ඊට පස්සේ පොළව හෙල්ලුණා. ගේට් හෙල්ලුණා. මාත් නිකන් මේ උඩ ගියා වගේ. කොම් බය වෙලා හිටියේ මේ කවුරු බින්දාගත්තෙත් නෑ.
පොළව ඇස්සේ වගේ නෙවෙයි නිකන් උඩින් තමයි සද්දයක් ගියා වගේ. පල්ලෙය ජලාශ ඒ පැත්තෙන් ඉඳලා ආවා වගේ තමයි ගියේ.
මේ තුල ජීවත් වෙන මිනිස්සු තුල දැන් සැකයක්.
The people here are suspicious as to what will happen next. If a tsunami warning was issued, we could have prevented 45,000 to 50,000 people from dying. The recent April 21st attacks is a good example of this. The responsible officials must inquire into this and indicate the area that is in danger. They must state the cause for these incidents. Otherwise, rumors will circulate.
Workers at the limestone quarry refuted accusations levelled against them over the tremors.
We are carrying out operations at the quarry after obtaining permits from more than 10 state institutions. This is being done to help the people in poverty. According to the permits that we have obtained, we can carry out blasts only between 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. The first tremor was felt at 8:30 p.m. The second tremor was felt at 6:45 a.m. Therefore, this could not have been caused by the activities on this site. We have been engaged in this industry for about 20 years. There is no limestone quarry in Haragama.
Environmentalists point out that officials are not paying adequate attention to blasting activities at mining sites.
Limestone mining is taking place largely in this area. We did not observe any official inspecting the number of explosives that they used to carry out blasting at the site. In some places, they had carried out mining deep into the earth below the water level of the Victoria Reservoir. We can observe that mining activities can be a threat to the Victoria Dam. This is because the activities taking place below the earth are not what we witness on the surface. The limestone industry must be banned from operating in this sensitive environment. A question can arise whether the operations of the limestone industry can be carried out in another area. There are thin limestone slabs in the Digan area. If we travel 3 kilometers to the north from Matale, we can come across 3 kilometers wide and 100 kilometer long limestone slabs that have a massive depth. Therefore, those involved in the limestone industry can be allowed to operate in Matale by establishing a dedicated zone for them. I believe that the mining industry must not be allowed to operate in this very uncertain environment. It is better to prevent a calamity from taking place rather than lamenting after it has taken place. There is a possibility that a disaster might not occur at all, but we must not run that risk.
We have more news in store for you, but first a quick commercial break. Stay tuned.
I'm different to you. I'm doing a 100% Middlesex University Bridge degree with no compromise in Sri Lanka. How about you? Call 071115-1234 to enroll now.
A very good evening to all our viewers out there. Now, the big reveal that happened today was the 20th Amendment to the Constitution. It was gazetted and made available to the general public. Now, what really is the content of the 20th Amendment to the Constitution? It has to be placed on the Gazette for 14 days before it can be placed on the order paper of Parliament, and that 14 days count begins from today. How drastic really are the changes that have been proposed by the 20th Amendment to the Constitution? Here are a few, but before we get into the changes that have been proposed by the 20th Amendment to the Constitution, it must be said from the onset that the 19th Amendment to the Constitution has not been completely repealed by the proposed 20th Amendment to the Constitution. Before we get into the differences or the sections that have been repealed or have been proposed to be repealed, let's take a look at what has been preserved from the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. Firstly, the President's term that was limited to 5 years has continued to be in place. That provision has not been repealed. Also, the two-term limit that was imposed on a person to hold office of president has also not been repealed by the 20th Amendment to the Constitution. Moving on to some of the changes that have been proposed, or certain sections of the 19th Amendment that has been repealed, one of the most prominent of the provisions of the 20th Amendment is the immunity that has been conferred on the president. Now, initially, if you can remember, the 18th Amendment to the Constitution had blanket immunity on all actions of the president. No civil or criminal suit could have been filed against the president. However, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution changed this and allowed for fundamental rights applications under Article 126 of the Constitution to be brought against the Attorney General for actions or inactions of the President that could amount to a violation of a person's fundamental rights. But the 20th Amendment to the Constitution has now proposed that the President be given full blanket immunity back again, almost as if we are reverting back to the situation that prevailed under the 18th Amendment to the Constitution. Another big talking point, of course, in the run-up to the election, following the presidential election, even in the run-up to the general election and following that as well, is the Constitutional Council and its role. However, if the 20th Amendment to the Constitution is passed, that would be a thing of the past, because constitutional councils have been completely abolished under the 20th Amendment to the Constitution. However, it has been replaced by what is called the Parliamentary Council. However, the powers of the Constitutional Council and the Parliamentary Council are like the sky and the earth. They are completely different, because the Constitutional Council had substantial powers, especially when it comes to appointments to high posts like the Attorney General, the Inspector General of Police, the Justices of the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice, and of course the appointments to the independent commissions, including the Elections Commission, the Audit Commission, the National Procurement Commission, so on and so forth. However, under the 20th Amendment to the Constitution, the Constitutional Council has been completely removed, and it has been replaced by a Parliamentary Council, as I said before. Now, the members of the Parliamentary Council, of course, are appointed nominees of the Prime Minister, Leader of the House, and also the opposition leader, the nominee of the President, and also the 3 members of civil society that were previously included in the Constitutional Council have also been removed. So, by essence, the Parliamentary Council will not have civil society representatives as opposed to the Constitutional Council, which did before this. Also, speaking about the powers of the Parliamentary Council and the Constitutional Council and how they are different. Now, I mentioned to you that the Constitutional Council exercised substantial powers when it comes to appointments to high posts, including the independent commissions. However, the Parliamentary Council, quite on the other hand, exercises only observatory powers. They are only there to give observations to the President regarding certain appointments, especially to high posts, and that also at the discretion of the President. So, in essence, the President has retained or regained his powers to make appointments to high posts, much like the situation that was prevalent in Sri Lanka under the 18th Amendment to the Constitution. Just a bit of a recap, the Constitutional Council used to approve the nominations that were sent by the President to these high posts. However, the Parliamentary Council will not engage in such approval procedures. They will only provide observations on these appointments. However, the transitional provisions that have been included in the 20th Amendment to the Constitution allows for the members of the Elections Commission, the Public Services Commission, the National Police Commission, the Human Rights Commission, the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery, corruption, the Financial Commission, and the Delimitation Commission to continue to hold office. Now, however, 2 commissions have been abolished, and these 2 commissions are the National Procurement Commission and the National Audit Commission. And as such, the National Audit Commission, with the abolishment of the National Audit Commission under the 20th Amendment to the Constitution, we will revert back to the appointment of an Auditor General to oversee the functions of the National Audit Commission, or to perform, rather, the functions of the National Audit Commission. Now, We were speaking about appointments to high posts. Of course, it has been quite a controversial topic for quite a long time now. However, the 20th Amendment to the Constitution has proposed that the appointments to the position of Chief Justice, Justices of the Supreme Court, the Chairman of the Court of Appeal and the Justices of the Court of Appeal, members of the Judicial Services Commission even, to be appointed by the President. So the President will once again get the powers to make these appointments, especially the Chief Justice, important appointments to high positions in Sri Lanka. Also, the President will, however, as I mentioned before, the Parliamentary Council will provide observations to the President on these appointments that he is making. However, these are only observations, and this is the situation that prevails, of course, for the appointments of that I just mentioned, including the Chief Justices, Justices of the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal. Also, the President may appoint the Attorney General. Now, these appointments, again, previously had to be endorsed by the Constitutional Council. That requirement has been completely done away with the abolishment of the Constitutional Council. The President has the power to appoint the Attorney General, the Parliamentary Commissioner for Administration, also known as the Ombudsman, and also the Secretary General of Parliament. Now, one main criticism of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, especially after the April 21st attacks, was the fact that the President really could not remove the Inspector General of Police. And the current situation in the country also is in that context, is we don't have an Inspector General of Police per se running at the head of the police department. It's currently an acting Inspector General of Police that is running the show. However, the 19th Amendment to the Constitutional Council has now proposed to remedy this situation in that context by removing, of course, the requirement of the Constitutional Council's approval to change the position of Inspector General of Police. The President now, as I mentioned before, has the power to appoint members of the National Police Commission. And the National Police Commission will appoint the Inspector General of Police, and in essence giving the President really the power to appoint the Inspector General of Police as well. Now, onto a more pertinent topic that is currently in discussion. Does the President really have the constitutional right to hold a ministerial portfolio? Now, a backstory to this is the fact that the President did have a right to hold a ministerial portfolio. However, the 19th Amendment took away that power and introduced transitional provisions for President Maithripala Sirisena to hold the Ministry of Defense and also the Ministry of Mahaweli Development. However, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, after his appointment, took over the Ministry of Defense. Now, there was a debate as to if the President really has the power to hold this ministerial portfolio. There were arguments presented that there are pre-existing provisions in the Constitution that cites the President as the head of the Triforces, and thus he has the power to hold the Ministry of Defense only. But the 20th Amendment to the Constitution really has flipped this debate onto another side by allowing the President sweeping powers over the Cabinet. Previously, the President had to obtain the approval or the views of the Prime Minister in appointing his Cabinet, and also the President's power to remove the Prime Minister was also limited through the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. And of course, we are well versed with this area of law, especially even the general public, because of the constitutional crisis that the country faced in 2018 after President Maithripala Sirisena dissolved his Cabinet on the 26th of October. However, the 20th Amendment to the Constitution has introduced the President, or cited the President as the head of the Cabinet, a member of the Cabinet, and given the President the power to appoint any minister or to assign any portfolio to any minister that he pleases. And again, the role of the Prime Minister in granting these appointments also has again been reduced to an observational role. The Prime Minister can provide observations to the President on these appointments that he makes. Now, another controversial topic that Sri Lanka has been grappling with is the Cabinet of Ministers. Is the Cabinet of Ministers in Sri Lanka too big? Is it too small? According to my knowledge, we currently hold the world record for the biggest Cabinet of Ministers in the world at a time. But the 20th Amendment to the Constitution has removed the cap on the number of ministers that can be appointed. The current under the 19th Amendment, of course, that is currently active, the cap on the number of ministers is 30 and non-cabinet ministers is 40. This cap has been completely removed, and the President has the discretion to appoint any number of cabinet ministers, non-cabinet ministers, including deputy ministers and state ministers, to his government. This is a huge power, once again, that was initially removed by the cap that was imposed on the number of ministers appointed. However, this has been given back to the President. Another provision in the 20th Amendment that was gazetted is the fact that the President can now dissolve Parliament within 1 year of the Parliament being appointed. Previously, the limit as to how long the President cannot dissolve Parliament was set at 4.5 years. This 4.5 years has been brought down to 1 year, and now the President can dissolve Parliament within 1 year of the Parliament being appointed. Also, the age limit that was introduced on any candidate contesting the presidential election has been reduced from 35 years to 30 years. So if you are above the age of 30 by the time the next presidential election comes around, you too have the opportunity to contest for the position. Another controversial topic, really, that was also discussed broadly in the run-up to this 20th Amendment to the Constitution being gazetted is the requirement or the disqualification that was placed on dual citizens to hold office both as President and as a Minister of Parliament. The 20th Amendment to the Constitution has removed this disqualification, and as such, if the 20th Amendment to the Constitution is passed, dual citizens will also be given the opportunity to hold a seat in Parliament and contest for the general election. Previously, also, the Elections Commission, now, as I mentioned before, the appointments to all the commissions are made by the President. Now, this includes the Elections Commission as well. The President also has the power to appoint a chairman of the Elections Commission as well. Speaking a little bit about the media and how the media functioned, especially during the run-up to the elections, the 20th Amendment has proposed that the Elections Commission that is appointed by the President will not only have the power to do all that is necessary to ensure that state media institutions comply with the guidelines that have been provided by the Elections Commission, especially during the run-up to an election, but the 20th Amendment has imposed a duty on all media institutions to comply with the guidelines that have been issued by the Elections Commission. Of course, these are only a very few or some of the main changes that have been proposed to the Constitution through the 20th Amendment that was gazetted. There are many more provisions, especially procedural matters, that have also been included in the 20th Amendment to the Constitution. Of course, the 20th Amendment to the Constitution will continue to be broadly discussed, especially in the coming weeks, in the 2 weeks that it remains in the Gazette until it is placed on the order paper of Parliament, and even after that, this debate will continue. And we at News First here are ready to provide you with an in-depth analysis of the 20th Amendment to the Constitution, what it really means, and how will these amendments affect you, the general public of Sri Lanka, in the future. Now, this was gazetted today, and many members of the civil society, the general public as a whole, even politicians, have begun to express their stance regarding the 20th Amendment to the Constitution. Here is what some of them had to say.
19 සංශෝධනයේ අපි ජාතික බලවේගයේ හැටියට ඒක මල් වට්ටියක් කියලා ගේනකොට අපි කිව්ව එක මල් වඩමක් අතවත් තියන්න එපා කියලා. නමුත් ඒකේ එක හොඳ දෙයක් තිබුණා. ඒ තමයි ද්විත්ව පුරවැසි භාවයේ තිබෙන.
When the 19th Amendment was brought forward, we warned them that it would wreak havoc. However, the 19th Amendment created a barrier for MPs with dual citizenship to enter Parliament. This was one positive aspect of the 19th Amendment. However, according to the draft 20th Amendment, this barrier has been removed. We urge the ruling party to include this condition once again, but not only for members of Parliament but for the secretaries to ministries as well. Those with dual citizenship should not be able to hold the positions of Attorney General, Governor of the Central Bank, Auditor General and Supreme Court judges. This condition has not been included in the draft 20th Amendment as yet. We urge the government to include this and expand the dual citizenship limitation to the aforementioned state positions as well. Do not wait until it reaches the working committee, because there is a high chance that separatists will try to plot against it. We urge the government to amend the draft 20th amendment and include this limitation. The minister has allowed for the bill to be amended. This has not requested for the ministers to present amendments. It has only been requested for ministers to respond to the drafts made by the legal draftsman. The draft amendment has been gazetted prior to being presented in Parliament. We do not accept this. The ministers, MPs and the public should be given the opportunity to express their views on the new amendment. Ideally, it should be gazetted only after this. In this case, even the ministers have not been given the opportunity to propose changes to the draft amendment. We are not aware of what was discussed during yesterday's cabinet meeting either. The president recently requested everyone to refrain from opposing the appointments he made to the state sector. We would like to kindly tell him that we cannot do so. We are a faction that immensely contributed to create the mandate that paved the way for his victory at the presidential election. Unlike certain officials attached to groups such as Viat Maga, who only held events at hotels, we approached the people at the grassroots. We visited every temple, every village in every nook and cranny, and distributed almost 1.5 million leaflets. We printed these leaflets in all 3 languages. Certain individuals didn't distribute a single leaflet. The leaders of the SLPP said they can only bring in 5 million votes. The remaining 1.9 million votes were brought in by the national movements that awakened the Sinhala Buddhist community. This community is now questioning us. When we travel by bus or train, or even at a funeral house, people are questioning us. We would like to tell the president that we cannot keep our mouth shut and accept every appointment he makes. We represent the people. With regard to the dual citizenship limitation, once again, anyone can commit a crime or wrongdoing and flee the country. Anyone who takes the oath of allegiance as a US citizen also pledges to take arms against any country that is considered an enemy nation to the USA.
එහෙම තීන්දුවක් ගත්ත වෙලාවක මේ පුද්ගලයාට සිද්ධ වෙනවා ඒ තීන්දුවත් එක්ක ඉන්න මේ රටේ තීන්දුවත් එක්ක නෙමෙයි.
ඒ දවස්වල අර ජනාධිපති එක පක්ෂයකනුත් අගමැති වෙන පක්ෂයක.
The issues we faced when the president was from one party and the prime minister was from another will not repeat anymore. Many issues have been resolved. In my view, bringing in a new constitution is more important than bringing in an amendment to the constitution. The 9th page of President Rajapaksa's policy statement speaks of a new constitution. Certain factions are trying to hamper this effort by creating a suspicion in the minds of the people.
The draft 20th amendment to the constitution will be issued via a gazette notification today. This was confirmed during a media briefing convened to announce cabinet decisions earlier today.
Cabinet approval was granted to introduce the 20th amendment to the constitution in a bid to avoid the obstacles the government is currently facing. This decision was taken since the formulation of a fresh constitution is a painstaking and lengthy process.
අධිකරණ අමාත්‍යවරයාට අවසරය ලබා දුන්නා.
20 වෙනි සංශෝධනය ජනතාවගේ සංවාදයකට බාධා කරනවද?
අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම.
Definitely. Once the draft is formed, it should be publicized via Gazette for 2 weeks. Only after that can the Minister of Justice present it to Parliament. After the first reading in Parliament, another week should lapse before it can be debated again for a second time. During that 2-week window, anyone who has reservations regarding the articles can challenge them at the Supreme Court. A period of 1 week will be open for that. Once that week has lapsed, it can be debated in Parliament and passed. However, if one does go to the Supreme Court, a delay of around 3 weeks will occur. So yes, a major discourse will emerge in the country. Once all those complications are resolved, the amendment will be passed in Parliament.
The Cabinet has also approved the appointment of a 9-member committee of experts to formulate a fresh constitution.
Cabinet has also appointed a committee of experts comprising 9 members yesterday. President's Counsel Romesh De Silva will be the chairman of that committee. The other members are as follows: President's Counsel Gamini Marapana, President's Counsel Manohara De Silva, President's Counsel Sanjeeva Jayawardena, Professor G.S. Piris, Professor Nazima Kamurdin, Dr. A. Sarveswaran, President's Counsel Saman Ratwatta, and Professor Vasanta Senviratna. The Cabinet provided approval to grant funding for the committee and also informed the Cabinet Minister to facilitate the necessary means of the committee to initiate the task of formulating a new constitution.
All commission members are appointed by the President, but back then it was not appointed by the President and it was done by the Parliament.
So how can commission members appointed by the president take independent decisions? By this amendment, they are going to give back all excess powers to the executive president. They are going to bring back Basil Rajapaksa to the parliament through the 20th amendment. Now they are changing the constitution of this country to bring an American citizen to our parliament.
පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ගේන්න රටේ ව්‍යවස්ථාවත් වෙනස් කරනවා. අර මේ ඒකාධිපති තැනකට.
If they are going for a dictatorship as the opposition, we are going to stand against it. Not only that, we will rally the citizens of this country against it in the future. We can't allow dual citizens to come to parliament or to become a presidential candidate. Therefore, I urge the government to think about these matters and prepare a long-term constitutional amendment without amending the constitution to your wishes.
Venerable Bhattaramulle Seelaratana Thero expressed the following views in Tisamarama today regarding the 19th Amendment to the Constitution and Provincial Council elections.
Why can't they hold on to their powers for another 3 months? Why can't they hold on to the 19th Amendment until the end of this year? Why are they trying to bring the 19th Amendment in such a hurry? Who are they trying to sell the country to? Who are they trying to sell the people of this country to?
While changes are being made to the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, a discourse was created in the recent past regarding the 13th Amendment. A faction of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna today stressed that the provincial council system should remain in the country.
Our forum convened a media briefing today where we all unanimously agreed to the proposal that the provincial council elections should be held according to the previous system as soon as possible. Certain factions are trying to create an idea that the provincial council elections are not required. If this matter is to be debated, it should take place constitutionally. State Minister Sarath Weerasekara expressed his views on the provincial council system. However, the government has not expressed its stance as of yet. We as a forum oppose the views of Sarath Weerasekara and his stance on the provincial councils. We as a forum agreed to propose that the provincial council elections should be held before the 20th Amendment is enacted. If not, the government will face several issues due to various factions and our country will be negatively affected. I have been against the 13th Amendment to the Constitution from the very start. The 13th Amendment was a forced obligation by India. Curfew was imposed. MPs were gathered at hotels. Politicians were taken to Parliament amidst tight security measures, with dateless resignation letters inside former President J.R. Jayawardena's pockets. This is how the 13th Amendment was passed in Parliament. Federalism raised its head in Sri Lanka with the approval of the 13th Amendment. This is a unitary state and has been so for the past 2,500 years. How many of our ancestors sacrificed their lives to protect our country's unitary state? We are against dividing this country into 9 provinces and establishing a federal system. The 13th Amendment is brought in as part of the Indo-Sri Lanka Agreement. India is also obliged to fulfill certain conditions as per this agreement. One such condition was to demilitarize the LTTE. However, they failed to facilitate this condition. So if they fail to facilitate their end, it is unfair for them to expect us to facilitate the conditions. I believe the government will take care of India on a diplomatic level. However, I will fulfill my duties from the ministry's end.
The children in Mullaitivu who have been deprived of education, the problems posed by wild elephants and sand miners in Polonnaruwa were some of the issues that our Gammadda team came across during its door-to-door program today.
Our Gammadda team came across 15-year-old Vidusha in the Mabule village in the Mullaitivu district. She had given up schooling a few years ago. This was because she had been entrusted with the responsibility of taking care of her sick mother. Just like Vidusha, several children in the village of Mamulai are not receiving a proper education. This road is a testament to the highlight, the lack of development in the Tirathakalai area in Mullaitivu. A gravel road exists in this area instead of a carpeted road. Around 21 families that live in this area do not enjoy electricity facilities. Around 500 families that depend on farming in the Lankapura area in the Polonnaruwa district live in fear of wild elephants.
Villagers complain that wild elephants constantly encroach on their cultivations. Wild elephants enter the village from the Somavatiya reserve. This is due to the absence of a proper electric fence in the area. Students in the Pahala Al-Lava Primary School in Dimbulagala travel to school in fear of wild elephant attacks. Despite arriving at school under such dangerous conditions, these children do not even have a conducive environment at school to conduct their studies. Their parents complain that water seeps into several classrooms on rainy days. Farmers in the area complain that the Namal Pokuna and the Putukudi Veva have not been renovated for a long time. Our Gum at the team learned that at least 450 families that depend on farming are unable to engage in their livelihoods due to this reason. The villagers of Balangoda and Valitotayaya in the Ratnapura district are constantly threatened by wild elephant attacks. Residents point out that the fence erected to prevent elephants does not serve its purpose. Approximately 350 people in the Valley Oya area who earn a living through sand mining have also been affected at present. They say that they have been forced to abandon their jobs as some wealthy individuals have obtained mining permits. The Gum at the team will continue to tour several areas in the country with the Peradina University tomorrow as well in search of the people's problems.
Twitter has said that an account for the personal website of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been hacked. A series of tweets were sent from the account asking followers to donate cryptocurrency to a relief fund.
Twitter said it was aware of the activity and had taken steps to secure the compromised account. This is the latest high-profile security breach after similar attacks in July on US presidential hopeful Joe Biden and Tesla founder Elon Musk. The account with over 2.5 million followers is the official Twitter handle for Modi's personal website. His personal Twitter account, which was unaffected by this incident, has more than 61 million followers.
The Japanese Coast Guard has rescued one person from a cargo ship thought to have been sunk during a typhoon with more than 40 crew and 6,000 cattle on board.
The crew member, who was found drifting in a life jacket, said the ship had capsized. The Gulf Livestock One sent a distress signal from the East China Sea after being caught up in Typhoon Maisak. The search for the rest of the crew and ship continues but has so far failed to find any more survivors. The crew of the freighter includes 39 seamen from Philippines, 2 from New Zealand and 2 from Australia.
And with that, wrap up news for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Do take care and good night.